My name is Daniel CORIN STIG. I'm a Swede, and I work for the American company White Label Agency. The program says I'll talk about something else, but I changed. So you're going to hear me talk about how to build trust and grow your client base, because I think I'm better at talking about that than talking about something development related. Because who am I? I'm born and raised in Sweden. I studied engineering and management, so those are the things that I know best. And I continued at the university for far too long. I spent 5 extra years there to get the hat. So I'm a doctor in engineering management. I also studied in New York, so I did part of my time in New York and part of my time in Sweden for the PhD. And in New York, I got to know a lot of really cool people, and they were all from Ukraine, which is funny. But they were a diaspora there and introduced me to Ukraine, basically. And now I'm working for an American company, living in Sweden, and we operate in Ukraine. So those 3 countries are all close to heart. White Label Agency. How many of you recognize this logo? I think we terrorize you sometimes on Instagram and such, hoping that you'll see it. Sometimes it looks like this, and sometimes it looks like this. So our logo is white, but the background changes. So if it looks different, then don't be concerned. We didn't change it. It's the same. We are an invisible back office for digital agencies. So we do only one thing, and that's quite unique, I think, to many outsourcing companies. And do is we build custom WordPress websites for any design that the agencies send to us. So we're very narrow, and that also means that we can set up a specialized team. So here in Poltava, we have, I think, about 40 people, and most of them are either account managers, they are tech support, developers, or quality assurance engineers. And we set up the system so that it would be as effective as possible to build websites for agencies. The agencies are mostly in the US, but some of them are in Scandinavia. We have some Swedish clients, or in Netherlands. We also have some in China, but mostly we work with companies in countries where they're good at speaking English, because the Germans don't like to speak English, and the French don't like to speak English most of the time. Generalization. But, the Dutch do, the Swedish do, and the UK and the US, they are fine with speaking English. This is kind of the black and white, like the process picture. Our company is in color, of course, and we have a lot of fun at the office. But we are very focused on doing our thing and doing it well, and we do that with a lot of heart. And it's kind of I can't really recognize who's us here because everybody looks like us with their name tags. I hope you might get one of these one day as well. So that's about the company. Just to give you a picture of like who's talking and what does he know. But the presentation itself is about the trust problem. And this is something that we have been fighting with and that I have been fighting with. So that's why I wanted to share some information about that. And I think it's one of the key things that companies that work for other companies abroad need to think about. So why is this a challenge? I see 2 main reasons that this is a challenge. The first one is that as an outsourcing company, you always start with a customer that doubts if you will be able to do what you say you can do. I am on the phone with many companies that say, we tried outsourcing before, it failed miserably. They delivered something that wasn't even close to what I wanted. Or they say, who are you guys? What do you know? Where did you study? Like, do you actually know what you're doing? This sounds too cheap. This sounds too simple. And so you always start with someone who's like, I don't really trust you. And you have to work your way out of that. If you're if someone comes to IBM or to Google, they will think you know how to do this stuff. Like, they come to you and they already expect you to be great. But for an outsourcing company, usually it's the other way around. The second issue is that there are a lot of companies that try to go after a similar business. So we're one outsourcing company, but there are more in Poltava, there are much more in Ukraine, there are more in Russia, there are more in India,